To council, recognize any questions that want to be brought forward. Councillor Jones, you didn't come up on my board, but I heard you and saw you. So if you want to jump in, please.
Thanks for that. I appreciate you bringing that forward. I do understand that they have received a grant previous to fund and produce the project, and I feel that it is a lot of money to be requested a second time for 4 to 12 people. Do you have some feedback from the Vitality Group, what sort of their reasoning for it is?
Well, we're hoping that the promotion of the first film would bring in more applicants to the workshop. As far, I don't know, Jocelyn, do you have any input?
I think that the committee felt strongly with the community screenings and how many people came to the community screenings. Their funding that they received in 2024 was essentially for the first documentary. It was meant to build. So the Vitality Committee did expect to see the application again as the film kind of was created and grew.
Do you feel they'll come back for the second and third films for more money?
So this would be the second film. The third, from our understanding, no, they wouldn't be coming back for the third. This was kind of a next stepping stone as the project evolved. When they actually originally presented it, it was supposed to be a 9-episode series documentary. And as they started creating and telling the first story, and as the people that joined the workshop, everything kind of evolved and their picture changed. So now it's a 3-part series. The first one being focused on the Blackfoot people, the second one on the Stoney Nakoda, and then the third is settlers up until the end of the Second World War.
I think in the document in here, did it not suggest that this money was just to be used on the first film for upgrading it?
No, so a part of their original application, and this was confusion from when they first applied and came and spoke in our CVAC meeting, which you were present for, that they were actually talking about trying to elevate their first film as a part of this funding, as well as begin their next film. So things are kind of overlapping as it is a 3-part series.
Okay, so they're not using this funding to elevate the first film, but work on the second one?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to jump in, Councillor Walsh, but please go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. I was at the presentation at the Shepherd Barn, and it really was very well attended. I think that the folks have put in a lot of work, much like Councillor Jones made reference to. The first and the second is supported. The third, hopefully they get enough traction that they're able to go forward. Thank you for bringing it.
Any other councillors at this point? Otherwise, I have a couple of comments. Looking into the project expenses, specifically, sorry, I had to look over at my computer. There's a $3,300 expense. I don't know how that applies to, because we've kind of blurred the line here between first film and second film. That $3,300 on instructor, I think is how it refers to it. Can we expand on that a little bit? Because to me, the project is about, I guess, advocacy for what these films represent, and providing that piece to the community of arts and culture. So my brain tends to always bounce around numbers, and that one kind of jumped out at me into what that means. Who are we educating? Who are we training? Why do we have an instructor when we're really trying to make a film, an art piece, or a trilogy of films, I guess. So I don't know if you can expand on that at all.
So essentially, the workshop breakdown, the woman that's hosting the workshop would have to be paid to facilitate the workshop and then to help create the film. So a lot of that funding is going towards her being able to put on the workshop, instruct people to learn how to create the documentary, and for her time that she's putting into creating the documentary.
Okay.
Does that help clarify?
Yeah, because that's
Yep.
probably telling me that's my big miss, is that this is truly more community driven than, let's say, an artist who's creating the film on their own. It's really a participatory activity that our community can be involved in and grow from. So last question I have is in regards to what's remaining in the CVAC fund. I think our information specified about $15,000. Then we've got this request. My only concern was, and again, it's part of my memory, and maybe it's foggy because I'm a little bit of a cold, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll ask for clarity. Does the Santa Claus Parade have funding established for it already? I wasn't sure if that was still a CVAC-driven initiative, or we had that outside of it already, and
Thank you, Acting Mayor Nychuk. It is outside. It's under our fee-for-service arrangement that we have an agreement with the Parade Society, Lights and Parade Society, to set up our Santa Claus Parade.
Thank you. That might speak to my few years, or a couple of terms on council so far, that the line got a little blurry. So thank you for that. If there's no other comments, then I can ask for a motion to be put on the floor for council to award. Oh, sorry, Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a quick question. So the total expense of this project is $8,800. We're going to fund 44. Have they told you where the rest is going to come from?
So the 4,200 was funded in 2024. The application that we're bringing forward today is for 4,400
Right.
for 2025. But you're talking the total?
According to what I'm reading here, is 8,800 is the cost of this project.
I believe they were also applying for other grants as well, but I don't think the application actually specifies where the other funding is coming from.
So if they don't get the funding to match our money put in, do we get the money back? Like, is there any caveat on that, or?
No, so the funding that they have requested through us wouldn't be based on receiving funding from another place. Are you talking matching funds? Is that what you're asking
Well,
about?
no, what I'm saying is that they're saying here, under the estimated project expenses, $8,800 in total. So we're going to fund 4,400 of that. If they don't get the other 4,400, how are they going to complete the project?
I think this project.
And if they don't get the 4,400 and the project doesn't go, what happens to the money?
I think the project very much is going to go either way, very similar to a lot of the other applications that we receive. The CVAC fund is something that they have used in 2024, so they're trying to get funding in 2025. But I can't say that if they don't receive our funding that they aren't going to move forward, because their workshops already began last Saturday. So they've already started the project. I think they will very much make a way for this to happen, whether that's through what the lady that's running the workshops, maybe, I can't say what she will do specifically, but I think that they will.
You're confident that the project's
Yes.
going to go ahead, even though they don't show revenue for the other 4,400?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We're clear? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to the floor for council to award $4,400 to Unity Film Festival to help fund their 3-part documentary series. Thank you, Councillor Barton. Motion on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
So I don't know if you want to mention that we started at 3:13 because of technical difficulties. And then I can read my.
Okay, we're just going to rewind a little bit, folks, to the, I've been advised that we are live streaming now, so we have that recording and live streaming happening. So we're going to backpedal just a little bit here to let Jody make her statement and to advise those that are tuned in now and listening or for the recording that we did start the meeting at 3:13 due to the technical difficulties, and happy to say that we are back live now and we'll continue the meeting going forward. So, Jody, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. Please note, council meetings are streamed live and recorded on YouTube. Attendees acknowledge that in accordance with Section 20, Sub 2 of the Access to Information Act and Section 4, Sub C of the Protection of Privacy Act, names, addresses, and other details provided when speaking at a council meeting will be publicly shared. Should you have any questions related to the collection or disclosure of personal information, please contact the Legislative and Advisory Services Division for the Town of High River by sending an email to atipp@highriver.ca. That's atip@highriver.ca. Thank you.
Thanks much. Moving on to item 4.2 on the agenda, 2025 property tax auction sale, reserve bids and sales conditions. And Jordan, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. This request for a decision seeks Council's approval. Actually touched it. For the approval of the proposed reserve bid and sale conditions for the upcoming public auction of a designated manufactured home located at 212 Puller Avenue Northeast in High River Village. Background on this is that the property has been in tax arrears for more than 3 years. The total arrears is $1,059, and the total amount owing, including current year taxes, is $1,271. Administration has exhausted all collection efforts, and per the MGA, we are required to offer the property for sale at public auction. The current estimate of value is assessed at $17,200, and we recommend setting the reserve bid at $16,340. The public auction is scheduled for Friday, November 28th, 2025 at 10 a.m. here at the town office. If payment is received in full before that time, the auction will be canceled and they will be removed from the tax arrears list. Administration recommends that council adopt the reserve bid of $16,340 and approve the terms and conditions of sale as provided in the agenda. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions or discuss it further.
Thanks. Councillor Kinghorn, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As you know, I've been around for a long time. I think this is the first time that we've ever actually had to go through this process. What happens to the money? Say we sell the property for $17,200. What happens to that? To the cash? Does it go to the owner, or just a question? I mean, I think we should go ahead and do this. It's been a long time.
Yeah, fair. Thank you for the question, Councillor. There is a specific process we have to follow for the MGA, but according to 436.17 of MGA, the tax arrears are paid first. The lawful expenses incurred by the municipality during the tax recovery process are paid next. We get a 5% admin fee for the town. And then after that, actually, that's a good question. Yeah, we have to notify the previous owner of anything that's left over at that point.
Awesome, thank you.
Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is the property vacant or is it occupied?
Right now it's vacant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll follow up on that. So do we know, in terms of vacancy, is it an abandoned property then?
Thank you for the question. There was actually an eviction court order that the park had put on that property for their own reasons. So we know that that's the reason why it's vacant now.
Okay. Where this has me thinking is we're talking about $1,270. Is that $1,270.63? I start to think about the time that administration has taken to deal with this, the time that remaining that it will take to deal with it, the fact that we may end up. Well, yeah, we may end up with the property. It's highly unlikely that this person or persons are going to return. Then we've got a consideration of, is the property rentable, saleable? What do we do with it? What is the condition of it? Do we have to demolish it? That pathway has me thinking it's a lot more than $1,270, and I think we've probably spent $1,270 in employees' time towards this. I don't know if I'm suggesting that we just, I don't know what happens to the property if we just write off the loss and move forward, that it's so small. And my concern that if we proceed farther with it, we could be, use the word, liable for more expenditure, right? So those are my thoughts. I don't know if that generates anything for any of my council mates that are here, but I also see that Councillor Barton would like to speak, so I'll reserve my comments now and let Councillor Barton in.
Thank you, Councillor Nychuk. It's very much along the same lines. So considering the fact that it's October, we've got some freezing temperatures, it's vacant, do we have to maintain the interior, or is it something that is being, I don't know, is that being addressed, I guess? If you understand, like, is it winterized?
Right. We haven't really gone down that road of discussing a strategy if it doesn't sell at auction. If it doesn't sell or there's no bids, then we go down through another path of figuring out what we have to do. And the MGA does outline kind of what options we have. If it's a question of costs and liabilities, it's hard to say exactly what our liabilities are, but like if we do take possession of it and it becomes the town's, then yeah, I would say that whatever costs are associated with maintaining it or making sure that it's a viable property, it probably falls on us.
For sure. So that makes sense, but I think November, from October now till November, when that's a month away, it's probably going to freeze and could potentially damage it. So are we in any way, shape, or form, I don't want to say liable, how do we maintain it? If we're actually selling it at auction, do we have to maintain it? How do we do that? Because that kind of goes down the road that Michael is saying, like we're putting a lot more costs into it. Maybe it's something that we just have to, I don't know. Do we retain the value, or are we liable if the value is decreased if it's not maintained?
Yeah, this one's certainly a little bit different and unique because it faces some challenges because it's just the mobile home that that is up for tax sale. It would be within our due diligence to make sure that it doesn't freeze in order to reap the recovery of the taxes. And we are required by the MGA to actually go through this process, to go through a tax sale process and try and recoup those lost costs. Yes, will it cost us more than what we're trying to recoup to date? It likely has. And so even before we got to this point, it's probably cost us more than what we're going to be recouping. So yeah, it would be within our best interest if we have access to the building and we have keys to get in to make sure that the heat's still on and that it's still functional, because it is, there is some thoughts that it's still a habitable space and still could be rented out. And because this is in a mobile home park that's owned by somebody else, there is certainly interest from that owner that would like to see this habitable. So, we have to follow our process laid out by the province and make sure that we're following all those rules and making sure that we're following the MGA for tax sale purposes and making sure that we do offer it for auction.
Thank you.
I'm trying to understand that, Chris. So we're bound by the MGA to go through this process, to recover the funds.
That's,
If that's what we want to do, is recover the funds.
that's the
If we,
legislation.
if we don't want to recover the funds, if we just want to write that debt off and not go through the process, is that allowable? Like, or do you have to go through the fulsome process as per what the MGA says? I just, I don't want to capture tax dollars and incur expense, which is really putting a tax onus on the public on this recovery effort, so.
How I interpret that, at the end of the day too, the minister has the authority to direct us to have a tax sale by a certain date as well if we fail to go through the process. I think, while the sum is nominal, right, it is a legislative process that's legally binding to us to follow and for us to go through to recoup the amounts that are still outstanding and owing. We've tried every mechanism possible, including tax agreements and contacting the owner to try and find solutions, and we haven't been able to find the owner. That's been the biggest struggle with this process, is every address that we've been trying to track this individual down with has come up to a dead end. And so this is the only legal mechanism for us to truly get outright ownership, to go through or transfer ownership of this property to recoup those costs.
Okay, I understand that. But if we don't want to recoup the costs, we don't have an answer for that right now. If we didn't want to go, I understand the process and that it's governed by the MGA and you have to do it a certain way. But if as council, we vote on this right now and we approve it, we are bound by that process.
I've never experienced a council that said not to go through a tax sale process.
That's really what I'd like to know. I don't know about the rest of the council. Maybe I'm the odd man out. But this one just seems like it's a little bit of a black hole. To Councillor Barton's point on, we've got a care and maintenance perspective here because we're coming into the winter season. We might end up with a property that has extreme damage that we now own, and how would we rent or sell that? If there's a myriad of things here that just has the cash register ringing for me, and to me the simplest thing is just to go $1,270 and we write it off and we're done with it. I don't know what happens to the property from that, but if there's something that the MGA says that we have to do, we're bound to address this property. Well, that's what we have to do. But I would like to know if just writing the bad debt off is what we could do, and I don't know what happens to the property then, but. I'm not too concerned about it.
So we can certainly explore that. This is certainly an odd one that I've never faced in my career. Usually most tax sales are straightforward. This one is not as clearly outlined because of the complexity with the mobile home park ownership as well that's underlying this. And so, there's certainly some legalities that we've explored on this that we know that are taking place with the park ownership as well. And we don't know what will take place with that until the end of October. But we do need to have, at the end of the day, either ask for an extension from the province to extend this into 2026, or have a tax sale but prior to the end of the year.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. One thing, though, about leaving it as well is it's just going to keep incurring tax debt year after year after year. So, those are very, very valid questions for sure and insightful. And it would be good to know some of those answers. But just leaving it, I don't think is the right way to do it either. I would like to see if there maybe is other options, but.
That's a good point. Would the debt stay on the property, and if somebody else purchased it, they would have to clear up the taxes owing to then perpetuate their ownership?
So if the ownership, if the auction proceeds and we get the upset price of $16,340, I think is the number, then off that number comes our costs, including the tax arrears, plus an administrative fee, plus any arrears or penalties, and any other costs that we may attribute to this, if there's some legal fees as well that are associated with it. And then the remaining will be then held in reserve for the owner, the previous owner, that will be then turned over, that cash, my understanding of the legislation is that it'd be returned over to that owner once we could find them. Right? And so that's a little bit of the complexity. This is being a situation where the owner is entirely ghosted, both the park owner as well as us, and so this is our legal mechanism to get ownership and to get the fees back that we're owed, and to be able to sell it to make sure that's recovered and transfer of ownership.
I think we're clear on the process of that. I think we're talking about the alternative. So I'm going to go to Councillor Walsh, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think at this time there's so many questions surrounding it that I don't want to cause unnecessary delay, but it does render bringing the full information back so that we all understand what it is that we're agreeing to. As CAO Prosser mentioned, it is a unique situation. Generally, if you're going to take a property from arrears and sell it, it doesn't come along with many perceived liabilities, concerns, and though the number seems very small of $1,200 in arrears, we do still need to follow the processes to recover and acknowledge. Again, with all of those things, tough situation, I think we need to have all the answers prior to making a decision. Thank you.
Are you, just for my clarity, Councillor Walsh, are you talking about me and abandoning the property and writing off the debt? Those questions? Because we have questions answered on how the process works through the MGA, but I might have thrown the wrench into the mix here in saying that this is such a small amount of money and what it might grow to potentially. Are those some of the questions that you're looking to have answered, or was it?
I don't think that the volume or amount of the money to write off or not is the question as much as is that the correct process. With everybody having so many questions, there seems to be still unclarity. Therefore, I believe it deserves the extra time. It's not just a simple bid in a contract. It's somebody's livelihood, life.
So in that, I guess I'm putting this to administration and to you, Chris. In the care and custody of this property right now, can we, if we were to defer this on the request of more information has been expressed here, are we able to maintain that property? To Councillor Barton's point about pipes freezing and things like that, because if we delay it, we know those types of inevitabilities will happen in our climate at this time of the year. And we don't want to provide destructive action to the property in our request for information and deliberation on how we move this forward. Do we have a key? Can we walk in the front door? Are there utilities still that function in it? There's a few things there.
My understanding is that the utilities still function within it, and it's still a habitable space, so that heat's still on. At the end of the day, is it functioning the way it should be? Will it freeze at some point in time if it gets too cold? Does it fail? Does the heat get cut off at some point in time too because of non-payment by the other entity? Those are all questions I can't answer. What I do know, and I'm going to stress this, we have a timeline and we have a process that we are mandated by the province to follow to dispose of this property. The other complication that's here is that there has been a notice to evict from the landlord of the property, and that may very well also include, at some point in time, if the existing owner was to maintain it, removal of that trailer from that subject property if it's in poor shape. And so there are multi-layers of complexity here, but we have to move forward. My recommendation is that we move forward with this tax sale as it is, as we collect information so we don't miss some timelines and don't need to ask for an extension to the province. We can certainly come back with other answers to council for other parts and pieces. Our search will not stop trying to find this individual, trying to find a way to redeem it. We very well may see the park owner redeem this property and come in and pay the taxes. That's something that they're looking into, and that's their responsibility. And I can't answer how far along they are into that process, but we do need to either move forward or seek an extension from the minister to go further into 2026 with this property. Now, that does not necessarily mean we have clear access to make sure it's winterized. And so, we are just trying to make sure that we are following the due process, and the process is outlined with all the notification processes. And this has got another notification process that, again, we have to try and track down this individual to advise them that their property is up for auction, and this is the date of the auction. So we've got lots of things to still do, and it doesn't relinquish our responsibility from doing that by deferring it or by not, or saying yes to proceed right now. We can always come back and rescind this motion if we do find the redemption or something else comes in to redeem the property. That always does happen, and we can cancel the auction at that point in time. But we can also continue to get answers, because this is a different situation than I've ever experienced. It's complex because we have an owner that's of the trailer that's been evicted by the owner of the property that it sits on, that has, for non-payment, that wishes to gain access to that property again to get revenue generation back on it, and has shown an interest in this auction process, and a way to get it off our books and recoup what is legally owing to us from this property. So, certainly, like I say, there's certain questions that even I didn't envision when we went through this. Some of them, Acting Mayor Nychuk hadn't envisioned that. Same with Councillor Barton's request about maintenance, hadn't really thought about those ones, and just presumed that heat still would be on. So we can answer those questions and we can bring that back at a future council meeting. But I would urge that council adopt the motion as presented, so we can get our notification processes in place and start notifying individuals and advertising properly as per the MGA and making sure we're compliant.
Thanks, Chris. That's providing clarity and making sense to me. I've got Councillor Barton right now, and then Councillor Walsh, and the Councillor Jones. You give her. Go ahead.
Thanks for the giver there, Michael. Yeah, I'm in agreement with what you're saying. I think we just need to do what we have to do, and then maybe just throw the question out there to ATCO or whoever it is and just say, hey, can you make sure the heat's still on, right? And then at least it's showing on our part that we're trying to do our piece in it, I guess. I know you get what I'm saying. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Councillor Barton. We'll move to Councillor Walsh, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through to CAO Prosser, the clarity that you've offered, and I appreciate the sense of urgency in it, as long as we're following closely in this very unique situation. Thank you.
Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. I don't think there should be an issue selling it, depending on maybe how it looks inside, but I do know mobile homes, I think, are selling rather well this time of year, or this year anyways. I'd like to see us go forward with the motion as is and just see what council has to say.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Okay, well, I'll ask a member of council to bring a motion on the floor to adopt a reserve bid of $16,340 for the designated manufactured home located at 212 Polar Avenue Northeast, located in High River Village, and that council approve the terms and conditions of the public auction as outlined in the attached document. Councillor Kinghorn, thank you for that motion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 4.3, Land Use Bylaw Project, Traditional Neighborhood District Review, and we'll have Sarah Peck join us. Thank you, Sarah.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and Council. Yes, today I will be talking about the land use project review, specifically about the traditional neighborhood project review. If the proposed motion is adopted, staff will begin the process of reviewing specifically the traditional neighborhood district within the Town of High River's land use bylaw. Administration is recommending a timeline of starting in November 2025, so next month, to initiate the project, and then draft amendments to be presented to Council in June 2026. If the proposed amendments address the issues identified by the public and the stakeholders to Council's satisfaction, then amendments will be put forward for a bylaw adoption in fall 2026. The project team will be engaging the development community, members of the general public, all relevant divisions of town administration, and members of council. The project team will use the feedback that we receive to help inform the recommended changes. In addition, it's important to note that the planning division during this time will also be working on two separate but related projects. Those are the Southwest Local Area Plan and Townwide Architectural Guidelines. This report in front of you includes background information about the town's current land use bylaw, about the change that was made in 2017 with the new land use bylaw to go from a strictly Euclidean zoning model to one that incorporates a form-based approach. The Town of High River's land use bylaw continues to have separate districts. The town believes that these districts still serve a useful purpose in having distinct uses throughout the community to ensure that the community's needs are met while maintaining appropriate separation between incompatible uses. However, the land use bylaw now includes form-based code, which includes ample opportunities for a mixing of uses and strong commitments to high-quality design and pedestrian-oriented design, and a de-emphasis on parking infrastructure. In 2017, the Town of High River was actually the first Alberta municipality to incorporate form-based zoning and to fully eliminate minimum parking requirements across a municipality. The Town of High River is still currently the only town in Canada featured on the Strong Towns Housing Ready map. There are a few other municipalities listed on this map. However, all of those other municipalities are cities, not towns. And the Town of High River is one of the very few towns across North America to to earn this recognition. In addition, the town of High River received 2 different awards of merit in 2018 for the land use bylaw. One was from the Canadian Institute of Planners and one was from the Alberta Professional Planners Institute, and both of those were recognizing High River's excellence in planning for that submission. Finally, the town of High River's land use bylaw is highlighted in the current edition of Planning Canadian Communities for its innovative use of form-based principles in the land use bylaw. Planning Canadian Communities is a textbook that's widely taught in planning schools across Canada and also serves as a trusted resource for best planning practices and current planning trends throughout the industry. Administration believes that overall, the town of High River's land use bylaw is performing well. However, the new bylaw has encouraged developers to submit proposals that focus on creativity, a mix of uses, and thoughtful design. However, as the town continues to grow, particularly with multi-unit residential development proposals coming in, it's now timely to revisit the sections of the land use bylaw that regulate this type of development, and using the additional data and experience that we have gained throughout this time period to inform potential changes. With that, administration has divided up the proposed scope of work into several phases. Phase 1 would be background research and gap analysis. Phase 2, stakeholder and public engagement. And then moving on to Phase 3, that would be where we're actually drafting the proposed bylaw. Phase 4 is review and refinement. And finally, Phase 5 would be adoption and implementation. As I stated earlier in my presentation, our estimated timeline is from November 2025 to June 2026. Our proposed budget is $15,000. That would cover all required expenses for venues, food, and supplies. It would also cover the expense if the town does determine that the use of a consultant for certain aspects of the project is required. With that, administration recommends that council accept the proposed scope, timeline, and budget for the land use bylaw review project. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that, and appreciate the mention of the accolades that this land use bylaw did, and continues to receive. Obviously, we brought this forward as a council because it's an important document to review at this place and time. So appreciate that we have a scope of work and the phases laid out for us. So. Sorry, excuse me. I'll turn to my fellow council members for any questions or comments. Councillor Jones, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. I appreciate that, trying to keep it low cost and planning staff be part of this process. There are some big projects too that you guys are working on and dealing with. So as much as I agree and want to see the review, I know it's not a total, complete change of this project, but if it does become too much, that it would come back with some consultation, if needed. I would hate to see the capacity of the planning department be, I guess, overworked or not able to provide, I guess, enough time into this project as needed if that was the case.
Yes, that's a good point. Are you thinking that we should provide some more flexibility in case more money is needed as we go down this path?
I don't know if we need to do that right now, but just, I guess, for staff to understand that I think if it becomes too much or it becomes a larger project than maybe that's set out, that having consultation wouldn't be a bad idea if the capacity isn't there to actually do a really good job of this.
I can add to that, Councillor Jones. The intent here is to try and do it in-house as best we can. But with the workload that is on the planning department's plate right now with the architectural guidelines as well as the neighborhood outline plan, plus the development applications that's before us, including the Eagle View area structure plan or neighborhood outline plan, we would come back if we felt after the gap analysis that there was a pinch point that it was not going to meet the timelines. We would come back to council and ask for some additional dollars to help with consultant support so that this could move forward on council's timeline.
Great, thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Anybody else want to weigh in on this one? I think we've been pretty set on our direction, wanting to get this going, initiated. I guess from my perspective on council, I think this is lengthy, but that's just me being critical. I'd like to see it happen faster, but I understand there's human capacity, and there are checkpoints that we have to follow, and there's all these things that we have to do to ensure we have a fulsome review, and we come up with the best refinements as we can to improve the existing land use bylaw that we have. So if there are no other questions, not seeing any, I'd ask for a motion that council approve reviewing multifamily developments within the traditional neighborhood district of High River's land use bylaw to improve clarity, align with the town plan, and to preserve the small town feel, and to support diversity of housing choices and urban design, and that a public engagement process be initiated, to collect the input from the community and key stakeholders. And further, that council considers a second phase of review focused on multifamily development in other districts of the land use bylaw. Looking for that motion, please. Oh, sorry, Councillor Kinghorn, your hand came up, but did you also have a question as well?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you the motion to start with, but then a little bit of discussion. This seems to be entirely focused on multifamily developments. Multifamily developments, duplexes, threeplexes, sixplexes, 24 units. What are we talking about?
When I wrote that, I was considering anything above a duplex. What would you say, Chris?
Should it be clear within the motion that we define that somehow?
I think that would be reasonable. Let's define that.
I look to CAO Prosser.
Yeah, I think that, defining it from a traditional neighborhood district perspective, I would also probably move it down to anything above a single family home. Just because, and we may, and to be honest with all of council, we may find some things from a single family perspective that aren't working as part of this review too. And I don't necessarily, while the focus is on multifamily and the impact it has on traditional neighborhoods and historic neighborhoods of the community, we also should also kind of look at what some of the regulations that are contained in that land use bylaw are, how they're affecting single family uses as well. And some of the scale of the single family homes that we're seeing, and whether or not that's something to scale back on or to further entrench within the land use bylaw. So I think if we wanted to define multifamily, I would say that it's 2 family and above to start, but with the caveat that we leave it open to see if there's anything else that we need to fix.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was going. I mean, there's 3 properties that are considered to be single family in town that there's been lots of discussion around, and it doesn't seem like we would be addressing those issues at all within this motion.
That is certainly the direction that we've taken from council, but council is of course able to expand that direction at this moment and include other parameters if they so choose.
I leave it to council.
Thanks for that, Councillor Kinghorn. So we have a motion currently sitting on the floor. I could ask for a adoption of a friendly amendment to the motion on the floor, but trying to think about the wording that's there, and encompassing what I agree with from Councillor Kinghorn, that this is limiting the scope of probably more considerations or concerns that we've had as a council or that we've had from the public in regards of recent developments. So the motion reading as it is, as Councillor Kinghorn put on the floor, I'll come back to what I think might read okay, and then and then we can discuss that in terms of the verbiage we're using, and then frame that in. So the original motion was council approve reviewing multifamily developments within the traditional blah, blah, blah. Perhaps we could go to council approve reviewing single and multifamily developments simply, without trying to be too descriptive of any one particular development. I'll turn to maybe Sarah first for a comment on that, and then I'll turn to my council mates for any of their comments before we put that amendment to the current motion on the floor. Thank you.
I think that sounds completely reasonable, and I would be curious to know if council would be interested in going further, because there might be issues about, commercial businesses and institutional businesses. So if we see something during our review that might be more about a commercial situation or an institutional situation, should we just roll it into this project? I think that's my question. But what you said about single and above, that makes sense to me.
Can I get clarity on what you mean by commercial or institutional or business? Because here we are, we're talking about this in terms of the traditional neighborhood district, and I'm not sure how those few entities that you mentioned fall into traditional neighborhood, or if that's outside of. And ultimately, we want to have a fulsome look at the whole land use bylaw. So this is, as been pointed out here, is kind of step one. Already within what you provided today was there is a step two already that we're looking at. So that this isn't the start and end point, but the beginning of that fulsome review and discussion and community interaction. So.
Can I add one thing before you? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. And I can't remember the name of it, the area. Sorry, give me a second. The Southwest Local Area Plan. Can you give us just a rough definition of where that is? Because I think that might bring into context some of the things where you could have potentially a business, commercial business, because I know of one that's just down the street from me, so.
Yeah, exactly. So the geographical area we're thinking of for the Southwest would be basically 12th Avenue Southwest, then going around where the old Beechwood is, not including that part, but using that as a boundary, and then wrapping around where George Lane Park is, but not including George Lane Park. And, it would include several churches, the Spitzy School, the hospital, of course, the library, a variety of uses that aren't necessarily residential.
Yeah, okay.
And then I think we would wrap around where our current boundary is of the downtown, like as in where we had our downtown ARP, because I don't see a real point in overlapping the downtown ARP area with this new Southwest LAP. I think that would just prove to be very confusing. So I would consider that to be the eastern boundary lines.
Yeah, thank you. Because I think my street, because I'm on a corner, 2nd, 6th Ave, so where Craig's business, on one side is the downtown, and then the other side is would be traditional. But you could have a business on there. I've been told that anyways, right? Absolutely. Okay.
Think of the Noble Tea House, for example. That is a business that's in the Southwest area, but it's in the traditional neighborhood district zone.
Thank you. I'm in favor of doing all-encompassing if we can, right? Try to wrap up as much of it as possible.
Anyone else have a comment on that perspective? Okay, I had some thoughts, but please, Councillor Walsh, go ahead.
The reference to a change from single-family dwelling, would that not simplify the entire process? Any change from its single-family designation in a traditional neighborhood? And then it doesn't matter what the application is? Is that what I'm understanding, or no?
I'm not sure if I fully understand. Chris, do you have thoughts about that? I got a bit confused. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the motion is before today. The friendly amendment, as I understand it, is to include anything that's residential in nature, single and multifamily. So anything about that, it has no connection to commercial or institutional at this point in time. It's purely dealing with the residential and the impacts that we're seeing on residential developments within, specifically within the Southwest Corridor. But we are starting to see those impacts spiral out into other areas as well when it comes to residential development from that perspective. We have not necessarily seen the same impact when it comes to commercial or business or institutional uses, but we haven't seen large-scale neighborhood commercial develop in the traditional neighborhood district as per se, besides, like Ms. Peck said about the Noble Treehouse, small coffee shop scale kind of development that's on the neighborhood scale that fits within that small town character.
Thank you.
So this motion, the friendly amendment, would be focused on single family, basically reviewing all residential development within the traditional neighborhood district.
Excuse me, sorry. Point well taken, Councillor Barton, and to CAO Prosser. I think that's some clarity that I wanted to put in. We are dealing with the residential side, and then I was going to have a question to you, Sarah, on have we seen commercial or residential concerns, or even shall I say issues that we've encountered with residential right now, and I think the answer is no. So I would like this. I would like this piece of work to continue with its focus on the residential side, and that doesn't dismiss, Councillor Barton, the fact that those other pieces will have to be talked about. And in about a week's time, we'll know who that next council is, and they can make those decisions on those pieces going forward. Initially, when we brought this, the residential piece was our concern, and we wanted to act on that right away. So I would keep the friendly amendment as being council approve single and multifamily developments within the traditional neighborhood district. So we have Councillor Kinghorn's motion on the floor, the original. If somebody would like to give me a motion for the friendly amendment to read, council approve reviewing single and multifamily developments within the traditional neighborhood district of High River's land use bylaw to improve clarity aligned with the town plan, to preserve the small town feel, and to support diversity of housing choices and urban design. Thank you, Councillor Barton. Friendly amendment on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried? Thank you. And moving back to the original motion that was on the floor from Councillor Kinghorn. Those in favor? Opposed? Opposed or in favor? In favor, thank you. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, would you like to assume the chair? Thank you. On that note, I'll carry on. Oh, it's flowing. All right, moving on to item 4.4 on our agenda today, security cameras, High River Library, and Ms. Hipkin, please. I believe this is... if you're comfortable there, I'm fine with you being there. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk and Council. In follow-up to a presentation and request brought forward at the last council meeting by Ms. Ruthann Koyama on behalf of the Library Board, administration has compiled additional information to support an informed decision today. First, administration recognizes the challenges the library is facing and wishes to provide support that meets the needs of both the board and the town. After further investigation, administration learned there are cameras at a handful of municipal facilities, including the recreation complex, which has common areas such as entry doors, hallways, and lobby areas for general monitoring of unwanted behaviors such as physical altercations. The Public Works Yard, again, has monitoring for unwanted behaviors such as theft or vandalism. And then the water treatment plant also has cameras for monitoring of catastrophic system failures for early warning and quick response to ensure that the potable water system remains online. The above cameras, as far as we're aware, do not allow for identification of individuals via the footage and would require upgrades to support such identification, so those cameras do not have the quality to actually have a good facial recognition. Further, the above cameras were installed in the absence of a privacy policy regarding the cameras, including consideration of why the cameras are necessary, what is the purpose of the cameras, how were the locations determined, who has access to the footage, where and how is the footage retained, how long is the footage retained for, and how is the footage disposed of at the end of its useful life. Before any additional cameras are installed within municipal facilities under the town's oversight, administration suggests and recommends that clear policies and procedures to support their installation and management is developed first. We also did learn that there are 2 other locations. The RCMP station has cameras to monitor the safe pickup location to support the increase in online private sales and safe transactions. And the Highwood Center has cameras on the exterior to monitor their main entrance area. The last 2 cameras that were mentioned for RCMP and the Highwood Center were funded and installed by the occupying parties or the tenants of those facilities. And the operating costs were at their responsibility. I cannot speak to the quality of those images that they capture or how they manage those for policy-wise. In response to the library board's request for cameras inside the library, administration recommends the installation and management of cameras within the library be at the board's discretion as an operational item, including adequate policies, costs of equipment and installation, and any facility upgrades to support the installation. Administration agrees that exterior cameras may deter unwanted behaviors. However, there are other items that can also be reviewed and adjusted to improve safety of staff and patrons at the library. Council did include development of a conceptual plan in the 2025 budget to improve items such as exterior design and the layout and lighting at the library to avoid any of those shadow areas or areas that are not well visible for staff or patrons. In response to the library board's request for cameras outside the library, administration recommends that council consider the conceptual plan for upgrades to the parking area and lighting at the library during the 2026 budget deliberations. So in essence, the recommendations are that inside cameras are the library board's responsibility. Outside cameras may be part of a program. However, council should consider the conceptual design during the 2026 budget deliberations, which may eventually lead to cameras as well. Does council have any questions regarding administration's recommendation?
Thanks, Jody. Council, please, any questions? No questions. I guess I'd just like to speak in terms of this being a safety, security issue. Council and administration have been working on, as Jody mentioned, the conceptualization of providing lighting and better accessibility at the front of the library. So that's the parking that exists there. Changing that quite simply. When you park there, you see there's a dish. When we get rain, when we get snow, ice builds up and things. So that's part of it. The walkway is part of it, in front of it. Lighting in front is part of it. So this council and administration has been working towards the improvement of those safety and accessibility pieces already. The suggestion from administration right now to move forward in the format that was suggested, I think, in my opinion, is the right thing to do. We have examples of cameras inside buildings being funded by those entities that exist within those facilities. So I don't see why this would be any different. And there's the opportunity, once we come to develop a privacy policy in and around camera use, that we could revisit the exterior of the library with the library board and the management team there at that time. So just a few comments from me. Then again, opening it up for anyone that has a comment. Mayor Snodgrass?
You kind of said all of it, so well stated.
Thank you.
By the time I got there,
it's the chair. I'm feeling your vibes.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said, and no other comments from council here right now, not seeing any on the board, thank you. I'd ask for a motion to be put on the floor, please, for council to direct administration to advise the High River Library Board that cameras within the library are an operational item for their consideration and funding, and that council consider the conceptual design for improvements including parking lot and lighting enhancements at the library in the 2026 budget deliberations, and further, that council direct administration to develop a privacy policy that includes camera use for council's consideration at a future council meeting. Councillor Jones, thank you.
I'll give you that motion, Deputy Mayor Nychuk.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 4.5 on today's agenda, intermunicipal water and sewer services agreement. That's with Foothills County, and our CAO, Chris Prosser, will be bringing that today.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. So the agreement that's before you today is a renewal. It's hard to believe that it's been 4 years already since we first adopted the initial agreement with the county. That cleaned up a lot of other previous agreements. And so this agreement that you see before you is amending a few things. One, Cargill remains the customer of the county, and we have no direct relationship with them. Our water and sewer rates for the county are tied directly to our rate bylaw, and so that what our taxpayers and property owners pay in town here will be transferred directly to the county residents and businesses paying the same rates. In addition, they do have some penalties if they are over their licensed amount, as well as over their master meter amount as well, that we can recover lost water from that perspective. The other aspect of things is we've added 2 renewal terms of 5 years each, and we've also deleted the references to the CMRB and the growth strategy. With the CMRB now being is defunct, there is no need to have those clauses within there or those relations up to the growth strategy and the sections within that, so that's been removed. We've also amended the changes to insurance to align better with our current insurance providers, which are now the same insurance providers as the county, and those are kind of the major changes that have taken place within the agreement. And so based upon that, the rationale for the recommendation is to proceed. And council certainly has options to consider. It is, proceed with the proposed new agreement with the renewal clauses, not proceed and give 1-year notice to cease service to the county. We could choose to also consider other proposed amendments and request the county to consider a different form, or we can send this to committee of the whole for future consideration. There is a timeline here because December 31st is quickly approaching, and if that does, if we do go past that time, then they did charge about 90% of the current rates for water use. So that's the rationale for the recommendation. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk.
Thank you, CAO Prosser. Appreciate it. Questions to council. Councillor Kinghorn, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Kind of two questions. Has this gone to the county council yet? Is it on their agenda for tomorrow, I guess? It would be their last meeting before the election?
It has been to the county on October the 3rd, I believe it was. And so the county has reviewed it and have given conditional approval pending our approval.
Thank you.
Any other council questions? Just, I guess, a point of detail, not so much clarity, but in this agreement, for those that are watching that will review it at their leisure from a recording, or for those here in attendance, this agreement also covers off from the financial side of it, that costs of use are determined, I want to say, at our discretion. If we've got increases in water use, that we can have those discussions with the county and implement any of those increases. That's correct, right, Chris?
That's correct.
So just to make that clear, that this agreement doesn't fix us to a fixed rate of pay, having a service agreement with that municipality. So I just wanted that to be clear to the public, that we aren't agreeing to a 15-year fix on some kind of a pricing structure. So needed that to be very clear. That being said, I'll put this to the council for somebody to give me a motion that council approve the attached intermunicipal water and sewer services agreement with Foothills County for a 5-year term with options to renew for up to 2 additional 5-year terms. Looking for that motion, please. Councillor Walsh, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Moving to item 4.6 on today's agenda, Joint Administration Center, Operating, Management, Maintenance, and Use Agreement, Foothills County.
Deputy Mayor, just going back to the last one, we need a motion for the mayor and CAO to sign. Do we have to have that?
Thank you very much. Now, in that,
I'll give you that motion.
Well, I can just add it?
Add it?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of, I did miss a piece here with the motion that was on the floor for the agreement, and further, it should have been, and that council authorized the mayor and chief administrative officer to execute the agreement. So we'll have part 2 or a second motion to that particular item on the agenda. So thank you for that motion, Mr. Mayor. I'll take that and then put it to a vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me in line, Mr. Mayor. Moving to 4.6, Joint Administration Center, Operating, Management, Maintenance, and Use Agreement, Foothills County. Again, CAO Prosser, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. So this agreement we've been working with the county on for the last 7 months on getting a final draft to both our councils. The original agreement was dated back into 2001 when the building was originally built, and was really primarily focused on construction and not necessarily the day-to-day operations and management, and doesn't necessarily reflect how we each use the building today. And so we went through an exercise of how much space was allocated, what spaces were allocated, what they were used for, and what the common areas were, and the apportionment of those costs. To date, right now, as within this agreement, it comes down to, instead of a 50-50 split like the 2001 agreement, it's now a 55-45 split for Foothills County and 45% for us of the use of the building. We share the common spaces on a cost perspective on a 50-50 basis, because we both use the meeting rooms, this space, as well as the lobby on an equitable basis, but then the other utilities will be split based upon our cost share for the spaces that we actually permanently occupy. This also clarifies all the properties involved. It includes the parking areas, and also includes the maintenance structure of the parking areas and snow removal, and allows us clarity on billing back those expenses back to the county for their proportionate cost share. So at this point in time, we haven't necessarily been billing back historically since 2001 when we dug into it for those costs, and it was kind of a more of a handshake kind of deal, and this formalizes recovering those costs from the county as well. So that's kind of the rationale for the recommendation that you see before you. This brings us into the 21st century, I guess, as far as an agreement, and provides very clarity for our staff on what they can and can't do when it comes to maintenance. And so we don't get into the debates about what is maintenance and what's not maintenance. So that's the rationale for the recommendation.
Thanks, Chris. I'll go to questions from council, but I was wondering if, I know we had a colored map that maybe we can put up and people can just see how that 55-45 split works. So it's captured here in chambers, but also captured on the live stream and the recording. We'll bring that up just so people can see how that part and parcels between us and Foothills County. You going to talk to the color coding, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can speak to the color coding. Okay, so there are two maps here, one for the upper space, one for the lower space. The map that's in front of the public right now is the lower basement space. Green is the town of High River. Purple, as it shows on my screen, is Foothills County, and pink is the shared common spaces. On the second floor, the same apportionment is that case, with the washrooms and the copy room being a common area, as well as council chambers and one meeting room and the council lounge, with our main office space and our front desk being apportioned to ourselves as well. So,
thanks for that clarity, Chris. Appreciate it. On to questions or comments. Councillor Kinghorn, please.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Good job on this. I like the way you've done it. However, I've expressed concerns at the IMC, and I'll bring it up again. This room, council has to have access to this room. And the way it's set up today, we don't unless we go get somebody from administration to come and unlock it. So can you ensure that the future council has access to this room and the room in the back, please?
that is certainly something administration took back from IMC, and we're working with Foothills County to find the best solution so that council has access. You're always welcome to attend.
Any other questions or comments from council? This one's pretty straightforward. It's about time we had something as far as an agreement in place, and nice that there was a time where we could do handshakes, but there's some prudence behind having written agreements that are approved by both sides. So thank you for that. So I'll ask for a motion from council, please. Council approve the proposed joint administration center operating, management, maintenance, and use agreement with Foothills County, and that council authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer to execute the agreement. Looking for that motion. Councillor Jones, thank you.
I'll give you that motion, Deputy Mayor Nychuk.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. On the script that I have, we've got next item on the agenda is councillor board and committee reports. I don't have anything in the items there, but does any of council have anything to bring to the council chambers at this time? Excellent. All right. Oh, there they go. I hear beeps and now they're up on the screen. Thank you. Councillor Jones, please. And then Councillor Kinghorn.
It's not necessarily a board thing. I am on the library board, but I just wanted to thank them for the meet and greet that they hosted last Thursday. It was educational and it was interesting. A little bit... The environment was very loud, but I enjoyed myself, and I want to just thank the library and the library board for hosting that.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Councillor Kinghorn, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is a little bit hard for me. This is, as you all know, this is my last council meeting. I've served the public here since 2010, and it's been a very, very enjoyable experience. I've learned a lot, and I really want to say thanks to all of the councillors I've worked with today and over the years, going back as far as Mayor Blockland and just all of them. It was just a real pleasurable experience. Of course, with anything, there's ups and downs, so I'd like to recognize Councillor Bootland, Chuck. He was a close friend and good councillor, and we lost him, and I believe it was the 2010 council. I can't remember what year for sure we lost him, but he was a big influence on me and going forward. I also want to thank the residents of High River for putting their support for me over the years, helping me get through some of the tougher times, and it's been a real honor to represent High River pretty much wherever we went. We went to AMUA and all those various boards and stuff. It was an honor to represent High River. It's an amazing community, and everywhere I go, people talk about how wonderful it is. We just had an event here in town, and I had dozens of people come up to me and say, your town is amazing. They just love High River. In fact, we heard it this morning at the COW meeting. I'm really proud of what we accomplished over the last 15 years. Things like the 498 overpass, we got that built, and I remember walking across that bridge with MLA George Grenevald at the time. It was a pretty special moment. We got Charles Clark put up, the field house, of course, and I'm really excited for the pool expansion. I really look forward to going and spending a few hours over there in the pool. A huge thank you to administration. You guys have worked with me for years and put up with some of my crazy ideas and crazy plans. And you sort of kept me in line, and so really thanks a lot. Again, thanks everybody.
I'll open this up for council to provide some response, but Councillor Jones is on the list right now. Thank you.
I was going to maybe wait till after public comments to start the gratitude stuff, but of course, with this being our last council meeting of this term and coming out of Thanksgiving, I've been reflecting on a lot of things that I'm grateful for, and of course sitting in this seat for the last 4 years is high on that list. I mean, I've grown so much, not just in my knowledge and experience, but as a person, and each of you have played a part in that. Of course, through encouragement, mentorship, debate, and collaboration. We've had our share of all of those. And to Craig, I want to thank you for your leadership and mentorship over the past term. The role of mayor requires both strength and compassion, and you've led with both. I appreciate the way you've challenged me to think deeply. You've asked the tough questions, and you've always taken time to listen and offer thoughtful guidance. Your support and wisdom have truly made a difference for me, and I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had to serve alongside you. So thank you. And I've truly enjoyed working, of course, alongside all of you, all the councillors, our CAO, and of course, the staff that sit here with us meeting after meeting after meeting, as you've all brought a unique perspective to the table. We haven't always agreed, but that's okay. That's part of what makes us good council work. Different views coming together for the good of our community, and of course to the residents. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for challenging us and continuing to care about this incredible town we call home. As we head into election week, our last election week, I don't know what the outcomes will be. But I do know this, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the chance to continue to serve for another 4 years. Although the faces around this table will be different, I'm determined to keep the momentum growing and help keep High River strong. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. That's awesome.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. I'll first offer my appreciation to Councillor Kinghorn for your years of service. The community thanks you. I think all of us could have a response or some words like Councillor Jones did. She, I think, spoke very eloquently and I'd like to think we all reiterate those sentiments. It's an honor to sit up here. It's it's a difficult challenge to be here. But in that difficulty, we come to this job every day trying to do the best that we can for the community that we serve. I can honestly say that there is not one councillor up here that has done this for any other reason than serving the community. We have a number of candidates this year that have put their hand up that we're going to do, that are intending to do exactly the same thing. So I'm honored that I live in a community that works so hard for itself with the people that we have. So my thanks. Thank you, Jenny, for your words, and we'll all just say we mirror that. We could probably be here for a long time making thank yous. So to council, to administration, to the community, we thank you. And on the last item of the agenda, we'll go to public comments, because I know we have some public here. And please, if you have anything from today that you'd like to bring forward, please do so. Thank you.
Not sure. There it goes. Just a very simple question to bring us down from that moment to something very mundane. In 4.3, there's a paragraph that talks about 15,000 being included in the 2026 operating budget. And in 4.4, there's a paragraph talking about the 2026 budget deliberations, and I'm just wondering for confirmation if the comment in 4.3 is just a typo. Should that be 2025?
Oh, in terms of the budgetary allowance coming out of it, I think they're speaking, Vicky, to 2026, and there being a budgetary allotment there, because that's where this work is. We've initiated it here, but the work and that expenditure will come in 2026 when things like the public forums or public consultations happen. That's where we're going to see some of those expenses for renting facilities or providing coffee and donuts and those things. Storyboards are things that we use, so that's why it's saying 2026, and I'll have administration correct me if I'm wrong there.
So that would be the budget to be deliberated on?
Yes.
Okay, that's the only clarification I needed. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. There is item number 7 on the agenda, council correspondence for information. There was some correspondence regarding 605 McLeod Trail Southwest, so that'll be included in the minutes in the information package. And then at this moment, yeah, I'll bring this council session and this term to a close. Sorry?
A what? Oh, a green light. Is that what this is? The thing I pushed?
Oh.
I got to get my 2 cents here.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize.
For Kinghorn.
I see the name on the board, and I'm like, yeah, I know I'm here, and I know I'm talking. But
oh, yeah, right. You're the one talking, so your name's
I apologize. Please take the floor.
No problem at all. I just want to get my words in to thank Councillor Kinghorn, of course, for being here for a solid 15 years. Actually, there was one little gap in the program there that I was thankful to be a part of, but we've had fun with that one as well. But from 2010 being your first term on council, and then 2013 you were part of the team that went through the flood initially on June, and then council changed in October. But from October 2013 till the next election, you sat back there virtually every meeting that I remember, whether we were at the golf course or the Fringe. I don't know. We had meetings all over the place back then, but you were there for every one of them, and gave me shit if I was late too. So you were engaged in the whole thing. But 11 years sitting behind your first term was a 3-year term, right? And then it changed to 4. So 11 years sitting behind here, and it's been a roller coaster for the 8 years you've been here, of course, but tons of things we went through, and lots of very, very good things and some really tough times, COVID being the biggest one that we had to grind our way through, and that was not easy on anybody in this community, and it was not easy for us and yourself to deal with that. So I just want to give you a sincere thanks for, as a High River kid, thanks for being here for us and doing the right things and making sure that field house stayed in High River. That was a big one that I'll always be grateful for. And to the rest of council, this last term, again, every term has its ups and downs, and this one wasn't any different. But like Councillor Nychuk said earlier, that the thing we absolutely know is that every single one of you were here for the right reasons. And that's it. And that's all anybody can ask for. And we know we all did the best job we possibly could for the greater good of High River and to move High River forward in a positive way. And next council coming in, I'll expect the same thing from them. So again, thanks very much, Jamie, for what you've done for High River over the last 15 years. Appreciate it.
My apologies again, Mr. Mayor, for not recognizing myself. Councillor Barton.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. Man, I'm an emotional person, so I'm going to make it short and sweet. I'm sitting here watching everybody choke up. To Jamie, thank you for being a mentor. It's been awesome. and that goes actually for everybody here, right? Including the residents, right? You are all mentors, shaping us, questioning us, and allowing us to do a better job. And I thank everybody for that. Everybody around this table, everybody out here. So thank you for that. It's been an honor. And I appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Barton. We'll have one last look. Councillor Walsh, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nychuk. Just a really small note to express my own feelings. Serving the people of High River over these past 4 years has truly been one of the greatest honors of my life. I'm deeply grateful for the trust, the conversations, and the shared commitment to our community's future. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and be your voice. And going forward, good luck, Councillor Kinghorn. So I hope to see you all here in a couple of weeks' time, and have a good day.
Thanks, Councillor Walsh. On that note, one last look to council. Thank you. Adjourned at 4:50 p.m.